Today you have video audio, huh?
Koreanese. Good morning.
Oh, yeah.
Good, good. See you after the talk, huh?
What?
See you after the talk.
Okay.
You are cleaning?
Yes, Maharaj.
Ah, very good. Have lunch with us.
Yes, Maharaj.
Good morning, Swami Ji.
Good morning, Noel. How are you?
Oh, not bad yourself?
Good. Good morning, everybody. Let us start.
Good morning, Swamiji.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is Rama and Ramakrishna. We shall be celebrating the birthday of Rama on Wednesday in the evening at 7:30. And it is called Rama Navami. Navami means the 9th day of the new moon. And that is the day when Rama was born. Rama was a great spiritual personality, incarnation of God, before Lord Krishna. Rama's time probably maybe 4,000 years ago or 4,500 years before Christ. And Sri Krishna was 3,000 or 3,500 before Christ. So in that way, there is a gap of 1,000 years between the two incarnations of God. And Rama is very important from many points of view. He was, first is that he is an incarnation of God. That means God incarnated as a human being to establish righteousness. And when we compare the lives of different incarnations, Rama has got certain qualities which actually stand out. Stand out in a sense that his character is unblemished. That means you cannot really find out any fault in his life or character or activities. That is is very much glorified. In Krishna's life, probably you will find there are many, he was a politician, so naturally he had many things that is questionable. That means from the point of view of human understanding, but still he was definitely to get his work done. That means to establish righteousness, he had to take different methods, or he took different means. And in that way, his life is different. But Rama's life is blemishless. That in that way, he is considered to be the ideal person. If somebody wants an ideal person, then actually Rama stands out. Human beings are really not without faults. Everybody has got some faults. Somebody has more good qualities. Somebody has more bad qualities. Somebody has what is called balance between the two. So in that way, we have different types of qualities or virtues or vices within ourselves. But in Rama's life, we do not find any vice. That is why he is considered to be the ideal person. That means if somebody wants that, who is an ideal person, can you please tell me? So if you give the example of life of Rama, actually it will be most adequate. And the story also is like that. There was a poet, his name was Valmiki, and Valmiki lived on the bank of a river, Tomosa, as it is called, in the northern part of India. In the young age, he was not a good person. He was actually not, he earned his money by what is called by killing people. That the killing people means those who did not give him money, actually he used to kill them. So in that way, he earned his living. And his name was Ratnakar at that time. And one day, one sage, his name was Narada, was passing through that passage, through this, where he lived. Lived means he did his mischiefs on the border of a forest. That means from the habitation, there was a forest, and through the forest, the path went to another village or another city. In that way, there is in between, there is a place of what is called seclusion, and there actually, when people used to go, he used to jump upon them and then used to ask them to give all the money, and if somebody did not obey, he used to kill and get the money. So he was definitely a murderer, you can say. So one day one sage, his name was Narada, was passing through that path, and he Valmiki, or rather Ratnakar at that time, he saw him and asked him all the money that he has got to give him. And Narada said that, like, you see, I am a monk, I am a muni, and I do not have any money, I don't carry any money. I just beg food, and in that way I live, and I pray and sing the praise of Lord. That is my uh, profession and duty. I am engaged in that. I don't have any money. But Ratnakar did not believe that. He said that probably he is trying to escape. So that sage understood his mind and said that, well, if you don't believe, you do one thing. Let me ask you one question. First, he asked one question, that means you are earning money by doing this type of heinous work. Do you think that by doing this work, and you maintain your family by doing this heinous work, do you think the heinous work, the result of this heinous work, what will be? He said, yes, I know that probably I have to go to Noroko, that means in the hell. And I could, that much I know, but I am not doing it for myself. I am doing it for my family. So my what is called sin will be what is carried or divided amongst the families, because they share my money. I have to share my money with them to support them. Then Narada said that you better go and ask your relatives, father, mother, wife, whether they actually share the sin that you are committing. So Narada thought that probably he is trying to escape in this way, and uh, and the Muni read his mind and said that you better go. And if you think that I am going away, or I shall, what is called, I'm trying to cheat you. You can tie me with a rope in here with this tree and then go. So Ratnakar actually did that. And after doing that, he went to his family and asked his father, Father, do you know how I earn money to support you? Well, no, I don't know. Then actually he said that I do these things. That means this thing that because I do not have any means to support you. So ultimately I had to take to this means. After hearing that, actually the father get enraged and said that, uh, what, why do you do that? My son, get away. You outcast. That he got angry and just shouted and turned him out. And he was very much upset because he thought that he will support me. Then he went to his mother, and mother, after hearing the way he earns money, said, oh, how horrible it is. I never committed never. He asked that whether you bear my sin, that means that I commit sin, but I do for you. So will you share my sin? And she said, I never committed, Mama. I do not do robbery. You do, and it is your responsibility. So he was more upset. Then he went to his wife and explained in what way by robbery he earns money and supports her. But when the wife heard that, he said that, well, by no means, it is your duty to support your wife. So in that way, that third shock came to him and he was really crestfallen. Then he came to the sage and untied him and said that, sir, I misunderstood them, and now please tell me what can I do. So he said that, well, you have done so much sin but there is a way by which actually you can get rid of your sins. So what is that? He said that you take the name of Rama. Rama is incarnation of God, and if you repeat his name, your mind will be purified, your body and mind will be purified, and you will get rid of all the sins that you have committed. So he fell at the feet of that sage and started doing practice. Unfortunately, at the beginning, he could not utter the name of Rama, God's name, Rama. So he could not utter the name. So Valmiki made a adjustment. What is called Narada made an adjustment and said that you utter the name reversely. Mora means just killed person. So in that way, that is easy for him. So in that way, he started repeating, and ultimately it became Rama after some time. And he was so intense in his spiritual practice that it is said that in one place we are sitting, and ultimately the termites actually grew around his body because he was just like a stone sitting there. And in that way, he was repeating the name. After a long time, when he was immersed in this type of practice, again the sage Narada came and saw that his disciple Ratnakar actually was still doing spiritual practice. The termites have grown their what is called nest around him. And then he asked, "Who are you?" So he said, and by listening to the voice of his guru from inside that termite nest, Ratnakar said that I am Ratnakar, your disciple. Then actually Narada said that, well, you have done a lot of penances. Now it is not necessary to continue it. And you go and rest of the life you do spiritual practice and write the live there. And he said that, what shall I do? He said that you write the life or compose the life of Rama in verses. And he did not know verses, but there was an occasion by which actually suddenly verses came out of his lips, and he understood that this is the way I have to compose the life of Rama. And he wanted that who was Rama and how shall I write that. So Narada told him that, well, Narada is the ideal person. And if you just project his life in your composition, then people will understand what is meant by a not only good and ideal person. And in Sanskrit, it's called Morjada Purushottama. That means he was the ultimate limit of human qualities. So then he started composing that his story in poetical form, 2-line verses, and wrote the book Ramayana, which is considered one of the epics of India. Swami Vivekananda actually told this story when he was visiting Los Angeles, and when he was visiting India for the second time. He came to Los Angeles, and on one occasion, he actually recounted that story. That story is very influential, and it is still being told and retold and enacted and acted, and songs are composed and whatnot is done. That means every day definitely there are many temples where his worship is done, and there are many places where songs are sung eulogizing him, and also there are many celebrations which are celebrating remembering him. Rama's story is very simple in a sense. That means uh, it does not have many complications. That means situations and circumstances are very simple. And he was born, his father's name was Dasaratha. And Dasaratha did not, had three queens. In those days, it was that those who could afford, they could have several wives. So in that, he had three queens, but none of them had given birth to any child. So he was very much upset. Then he took the advice of his what is called court uh, uh, pundits, and they said that you perform such and such uh, yagna, perform such and such spiritual rites, and then out of that you'll get your child. Then he performed that, and out of that he had four sons born. One son was Rama. Kaushalya was the eldest wife. She gave birth to Rama. Then Koikeyi gave birth to Bharat. And then there was then Sumitra, third wife, gave birth to two sons, Lakshman and Shatrugna. In that way, four sons were born, and the people, that means his subjects, were jubilant that now they have so many princes. So everything was running very smoothly. And Rama from the very childhood was a very not only beautiful and well-built person, but he excelled in everything. That means in studies and in warfare and in study of scriptures. So in every way, actually, he was very prominent and very good. So after 12 years or so, when he grew up, or 14 years maybe, so when he grew up, Dasharatha thought that, well, I am getting old and now I have to think of my successor. So he made him crown prince. That means he said that, well, after my death, he will become the king. But it so happened that during this time, some other incidents happened, that Rama had the opportunity of having one competition, and in that competition he won his wife Sita. That means she was daughter of Janaka. He was also a king, and they were married. And in that way, I think at the age of maybe 28 or something like that. After marriage, actually, they lived 12 years. That means it will be about 26 years of the age when actually he got married. And then in that way, when it was declared that he will be the prince, then the problem started. So problem started in that his second wife said that, well, I had served you one time when he told the king Dasharatha that I had served you when you were very sick. And at that time you had promised that you will give me two boons. Boons means whatever I ask, you will give me. But at that time you deferred that, but now time has come that, and you give me your boons. So yes, the Dasaratha was word bound, so he asked her to ask whatever she wants. So she said that I want that my son Bharata will be the king and Rama will go in exile for 14 years. So Dasaratha was very much upset. That means she was shocked that she could ask such terrible things. But in those days, actually, people used to keep their words. So ultimately, he fell sick. And at that time, Rama was not present. He was visiting some place, I think, his mother's place. So when he heard, he came and he said that, well, that's fine. I shall go and in the forest, and my brother Bharat will be the king. But he went away, and along with him Sita, his wife, and also his dear brother Lakshmana. He was very much attached to his elder brother Rama. He also went into the forest. And in the meantime, Bharata came, and he was, when he heard that his brother has gone away, so he went back to fetch his father, fetch his brother, and requested him to become king, because he didn't want to be king, even though his mother had asked that boon. But Rama actually said, no, this is as a son, I must obey my father, or I must obey what my father has committed. So in that way, he went away into the forest, and Bharata was very much upset. But what he did, he took the sandals, that means footwear of Rama, and put them on the throne. And in that way, as if he was ruling the kingdom in the name of Rama. By that time, Dasharatha actually passed away because it was too much for him to bear that shock. So he passed away. And the story goes on about Rama's travel in the forests. That means he had the opportunity of meeting many sages and great persons, and they had discourses. And in that way, there are beautiful description of his life and the places where he visited, and also the discourses that he had with the many sages. But ultimately, it so happened that when he came to a place called Panchavati in the forest area, his wife was abducted, that means kidnapped, by one demon or demonous king. His name was Ravana. Ravana, by seeing the beauty of Sita, actually he was very much enchanted, and by some what is called crooked means, he abducted Sita and took away to his kingdom in Lanka. Sri Lanka now it is called Lanka, that means the southern part of India. And Rama and Lakshmana was very much upset, and such to find her out, and ultimately came to know from the forest people that he was taken away by Ravana. So naturally, being a king or a prince, he needed to get back his wife, and so he waged a war with the help of some forest denizens, that means monkeys and bears and all those things. That's a very beautiful story. And then he waged a war again, went to Lanka and breached the gap between India and Lanka, and then reached Lanka, and then fought with Ravana and his, what is called his army, and ultimately killed Ravana and got back Sita. And by that time, the 14 years was over, and he returned to Ajodhya with a great pomp and pleasure. People received him. But there were some commotion saying that Sita had lived in the place of another person, another king, and whether she was chaste or not. So, of course, Rama did not doubt that, and Sita herself was very pure. But that question always bothered the what is it, subject. So Sita had to undergo some tests, Agni Pariksha as it is called. She had to walk over the fire, and that was a demonstration of his chastity. So they saw, but time to time actually that problem came, and ultimately we see that Sita was left with one says this Valmiki actually what is called in the retreat of Valmiki. She lived, and there she gave birth to two sons, Lava and Kusho, and Rama ruled his kingdom for about 30 years or something like that. 30 years probably. And then his time came, and he performed one Ashwamedha Yagna. Ashwamedha Yagna is a very costly and very reputed ceremony that a king can perform. And he did that, and during that time, Sita actually appeared in one of the entertainment program, as it is called. And there actually, again, by seeing the Sita, people started crying. There is taste. And Sita thought that it is too much. So she actually committed what is called suicide. It is said that when she heard that, she prayed to Mother Earth that, oh, Mother Earth, please save me. So it is said that at that time there was a what is called something like earthquake, and the land in front of her actually got divided, and she jumped into it, and then she vanished. And that was a very great shock for everybody. Nobody expected that this will happen, and definitely it was a shock for Rama. So ultimately, he also decided to relinquish his kingdom and go to what is called in the forest. Forest means in those days, kings also used to go, retire and go to the forest and live just like a sage and doing spiritual practices. That was that was the practice. So she left everybody and went to the forest, and once taking the bath in a river, Saraju river, actually his body was washed away. That means he died of drowning or whatever it may be. So that ends the story of Rama. His two sons, Lava and Kusho, before he left, he divided the kingdom into two parts and gave the responsibility of ruling them to Lava and Kusho. So in that way, he made arrangements for his subjects. So the point is that the story is very flowing, and the dialogue between the sages and Rama, and Rama's dialogue with his brother, Rama's dialogue with his mother, father, all those things are so enchanting and so a principle that people like Rama for that reason. That means he showed what is called righteousness and very good. There are many qualities. There are so many qualities that it is a big catalog that is enumerated in the Ramayana. What are the some of the qualities are like this? He had the integrity. That means his character was very strong. Bravery, he was very brave. There was an occasion when he was young, he actually killed one what is called a demoness. That means he was pestering sages in a forest. So he was called Taruka, as was her name. So he saved the sages from this demoness. So he was very brave from the young age. Righteousness also, in every aspect of his life, actually, he did what was really right at that moment. Gratitude also. Gratitude means whatever he got, the help and all those things. There's one incident when he killed Ravana. His youngest brother, his name was Vibhishana. He actually defected. Defected means he knew Rama was incarnation of God. So he thought that my brother definitely will be killed. So he took refuge with Rama, and ultimately, because of that, after the demise of Ravana, Rama made him the king of Lanka. That means Vibhishana. So that is a gratitude. That means he actually helped Rama in killing his own brother. Then character without blemish. That means he did not have any defect in his character. In character means in habits and all those things. Yudhishthira in Mahabharata, he was a later person, is also considered to be an ideal person. But he had a little blemish. Blemish was that he was addicted to playing what is called chess. That means he was addicted. Kings actually, that was a recreation at that time. But Rama actually, we do not find that he had any blemishes in his character. Then he had the concern for all living beings. That means whoever wanted something or who was, if something is needed in his kingdom, so he actually looked after them very much. That means as if he was the servant of his subjects. That means that was his attitude of serving his subjects. Then, of course, he was learned and he has skill in many weapons. And he was in feature also. He was very beautiful. That means he looked, his appearance was very beautiful. And courage, then ability to help, and also another great quality that he has, he never got angry. He had people get angry if something upsetting happens to person, but he never got angry. So he had the ability to keep anger under control, and he did not have any jealousy also. That means he never thought that, well, I shall do something which will be good for me, but it will not be good for others. So he did not have any jealousy. That is why he could, what is called, obey his father's, what is called, or he could come forward to follow his father's predicament. That means he could have said that, no, I am the prince, my father has made me king, why my brother will become that? So he was not really that type of person. He said that, well, yes, if my father has committed that whatever my mother or stepmother wants, he will give, and he was bound by his word, so I must follow that. So he did not really object to his brothers becoming the king. So in that way, when we look to his life, which is in a detail, through these stories come out, we see that he was completely blemishless person, perfect man. He is considered to be a perfect man and paragon of all virtues and adored by everybody. This type of character actually we do not find anywhere. If you see the lives of even in today's life, also in today's world, also you see that some people we see that at the beginning that they are very good, but afterwards we see when we go dig in their lives, we find that, well, there is something which is really mischievous or not so good that come up in their lives. Mahatma Gandhi, he was a great ardent devotee of Rama. In fact, when he died, he took the name of Rama, Hey Rama. In that way, that was his last word, Hey Rama. So Mahatma Gandhi is considered to be a very, what is called, man of principle and virtuous, but still, if you look to his life, those who are critics, they will say that these are the shortcomings in his life that that can be pointed out. So what to say about other persons? That is the point. So in this way, Rama is worshipped because of his personality. That is the point. His advices are definitely are there, spiritual advices are there, but the standout character of his life is the most important thing. Now, how actually it relates to Sri Ramakrishna. As you see, Ramakrishna, the name itself has got the Rama attached to it. So Sri Ramakrishna had the name. Gadadhar was his name, so his name was Ramakrishna. So Rama and Krishna, two incarnations, but Rama is already attached to his name. And Rama, as we see in his family also, his brother was Rameshwar and Ramkumar. So Rama was a prefix of all the names around him. That means his in the family. His father's name was Shudiram. That also you can see the Rama is attached. And also I think his grandfather, his name was also with Rama. His father and his deity, family deity was Raghuvira. Raghuvira is another name. Raghu is the family or dynasty to which Rama was born, Raghuvangsha. So his name was Raghuvira. So the family deity of Sri Ramakrishna was also Raghuvira. Raghuvira is a symbolic, that means it is a stone, and that his father had found out in a place, it was auspicious stone. So he worshipped as a representative of Rama. So you see, his family was the worship of Rama. That is very interesting because Rama and Krishna as a tradition are considered to be Vaishnava. Vaishnava means a cult of who are devotees of Lord Vishnu. And but Sri Ramakrishna, in Sri Ramakrishna's life, that he worshipped Mother Kali, which is what is called not exactly opposite, but completely different in customs and conventions and all those things. So that shows the what is called how religion is tolerated, or spirituality can be what is called may have different aspects which one can choose, and in that way actually they can do their spiritual practices. So in Sri Ramakrishna's life, actually, that is very much evident. And Sri Ramakrishna was, as we know, Occasionally, he had used the life of Rama on many occasions. After finishing his spiritual practices with worship of Divine Mother Kali, he actually embarked into the practices of different aspects of Hinduism, practicing spirituality, taking the different spiritual models. That means Rama, Krishna, then different aspects of Krishna and different aspects of Divine Mother. So he did. And also he did the worship of Rama. It happened in this way. When you read the life of Sri Ramakrishna, you see that Dakshineshwar Kali temple used to be visited by different monks and mendicants. And in that way, one mendicant came and his name was Jotadhari. Jotadhari means he wore matted hair. So that is why Jota means matted hair. So his head was full of matted hair. So he is called Jotadhari. And he was a worshipper of Rama. And he has a nice small statue of Rama that he used to worship every day. And that was his spiritual practice. And he was on his way to Gangasagar. As you know, that people from northern India used to come, or even southern India used to come, congregate in Kolkata. And from there, they used to take a boat to go to Gangasagar. That means at the confluence of Ganga and Bay of Bengal. And there is a place which is known as Gangasagar, where there is a temple of Kopil Muni. That means a sage's temple is there where they go and take a bath. So with that intention, that mendicant Jatadhari was visiting, and he came to know that Dakshineshwar Kali temple has the good facility for staying and food. They offer that type of facility. So in that way, he came there, and Sri Ramakrishna used to meet all the people that used to come there and stay there, because he was very curious what they do, what are their spiritual practices. So he used to mingle with them. So when he came to this person, Jatadhari, he saw that he was worshipping this Rama in the form of a baby, you can say, or young Rama. So he got interested and said that, well, I also want to practice the way you practice Rama. And they did. That means he gave the mantra. He was a Ramayit sadhu. Ramayit sadhu means that is a branch of monastic monks, monastic mendicants, who actually follow the thoughts of Rama, or take Rama as their chosen ideal. And there are many sages or well-known persons who did practice, and in that way, that is a branch of spiritual practices that is still continued. That means it is not that it was at that time it was there, but they are still there. So he was a Ramayit, that means follower of Rama, in that a Ramayit is called. So he actually belonged to that class. So he gave the mantra, Rama mantra, and Sri Ramakrishna started doing spiritual practice according to instruction. And he had the vision of Rama. That means that it is said that baby Rama statue became live. That means as if it has become what is called just like a human baby. And in that way, Sri Ramakrishna's vision, not only vision, he had interaction with that also. It is very interesting that Ramayit sadhu, that means Jatadhari, also used to have vision of, in that way. And both of them used to have the same type of vision when they actually worship this, what is called this baby Rama. That is interesting in a sense. That means two persons at the same time having the vision of one chosen ideal. That is very rare, we see. So that shows that Sri Ramakrishna had a great love for Rama, and he worshipped Rama and did spiritual practice to have vision of Rama, and he was also definitely successful in that practice. Then In that way, later on also you see that Sri Ramakrishna had on many occasions told quoted Rama's teachings, and not only that, he quoted many incidents in the life by way of illustrating his teachings. So in that way, he was very much familiar. Not only familiar, used Rama as a part of his life and teachings. Then some of them actually I can share with you. Uh, yes. Sri Ramakrishna had the two disciples. One is Swami Vivekananda and one is Swami Niranjanananda. Niranjan and also Swami Vivekananda was Narendranath. And Sri Ramakrishna, being a teacher, used to know the nature of these young boys. So in that way, he used to initiate them. Initiate in a sense that means in what way their spiritual practice, who will be the chosen ideal, all those things are the intricate things that the teacher actually does, and used to select all those things and used to chalk out the path of spiritual practice. And we see that for these things are really very in a sense that the teacher and the student only know that thing. So in that way, we know that Sri Ramakrishna, Narendranath was given the name of Rama. That means Narendranath chosen ideal was Rama, and in that way, Swami Niranjananda, that means Niranjan at that time, his name was Niranjan. He was also given the chosen ideal Rama by Sri Ramakrishna. That is very interesting because different persons have different types of chosen ideas, but Swami Vivekananda's chosen ideal was Rama. So it is recorded that initiation of Narendranath with Rama's mantra. I got this mantra from Guru, and intense spiritual fervor in the Narendra's mind after sunset, like a madman, he started walking around. The incident is like this. Later on, Swami Vivekananda described that means when he got this mantra, he was so much absorbed and he was so much elated. That means he started, he actually not, it is not, he was so, forgot what is called, the place where he was. So he started jumping here and there. And he's saying that after getting this mantra from Guru, intense spiritual fervor came into my mind. And after sunset, like a madman, started walking round and round, uttering Rama mantra. When Sri Ramakrishna heard that, he said, let him be in that condition for some time. He will come down slowly. So it was so appropriate, you can say, for Narendranath that he was so elated that he forgot everything. He started taking the name of Rama, and in joy, actually, he started jumping and shouting. And after some time, Narendra regained the normal state. That instance is there in the life. That means the shows Sri Ramakrishna actually being a perfect guru. He knew what will suit whom. So in that way, Narendranath was giving the name. Gurus actually do that. That means those who do spiritual practice and have the realization, they are the perfect gurus. So Sri Ramakrishna had that perfection by doing spiritual practices in the different paths. So naturally, it worked so well for Narendranath that was the reaction when he got this mantra. Now, since Rama's life is so important, let us see what Rama has taught to different persons. Especially on one occasion, we see Rama had a discourse with Lakshmana about what they had a questions and answers type of session, and in that way, he has said in one place, "O Lakshmana, hear what I tell you as to how you can know this jiva, Paramatman and Jivatman are the two names of the one self-same thing. There is no difference between the two. So in that discourse, he was saying, though Lakshmana was his brother, so brotherly duties were there, relationship was there, but Lakshmana knew that his brother was an incarnation of God. So during the sojourn in the forest, when there was an occasion, when Rama was available, they used to have discussions about spiritual things. So on one occasion, actually, he said that here, that what I tell you as to can how you can know this jiva. This jiva means, that means what you are. So he said that Paramatman and Jivatman, that means the ultimate reality and your consciousness, are the two names of the one self same thing. That means it is the same thing that has got two names. There is no difference between the two. It is a very what is called sublime spiritual truth that Rama taught to Lakshmana. Sometimes we feel, because we are devotee, we think that, well, God is separate than ourselves. That means we are something and God is something. But it is not true. It is really same thing in two aspects. God as such is the ultimate reality, and his consciousness is the same as our consciousness. And in effect, actually, or in truth, he is living within ourselves. That is the truth. Otherwise, the reason is this, that means if he was not with me or with an individual, actually it will not be possible to reach him, because it will remain completely separate always. So that is the situation. So God and his beings will be completely different things. It will not be possible to become one. So something of God is within ourselves. That is why we just discover it. That means we become God by discovering it. So it is God's manifestation that we are in one sense, but we do not know. That is the problem. And all the spiritual practices that we do, just to know that truth. So he says, only the ignorant think that they are different. You should give up pride, egoism, wickedness, and crookedness. You should never care for the criticism of others. So these are the in human beings, actually, their frailties. So he's saying that if you practice these spiritual disciplines or these virtues, that means which are positive things, which actually lead to this realization that you are really not different from God. So only the ignorant think that they are different. That means God and Paramatman and Jivatman. Paramatman means God, Jivatman means individual. So they are different. You should give up pride. Pride means these are the fetters, as it is called. Fetters means that which keep us bound on the worldly things. So pride, that means if I am pride, so I am separate from God. That means I think I am one. I am great. So the I-ness actually is the pride. So in that way, if we can overcome that, that will be conducive for us knowing that you are one with God. Egoism, pride and egoism go together. Wickedness, of course, is very, that means, which is detrimental for oneself and also others. And crookedness also, that means thinking bad, that is a crookedness, that is also separation from the ultimate reality. Then he's saying, neither should you find fault with anyone. Control your mind, speech, and body, and never be perturbed. So that is the equanimity. He is saying that, well, people will pester you. There will be a situation when there will be things will be very critical, different, or very, what is called, hurting. So at that time, don't get disturbed. That means don't be disturbed, never be perturbed. Control your mind, speech, and body, and never be perturbed. Mind, speech, and body. Mind means by seeing or by hearing or by what is called by other means, actually, mind gets disturbed. Probably weather is bad. So naturally I get disturbed. So that is the disturbances of the mind. Speech means, that means under circumstances, probably the words will come, which will be not bad words will come from your lips. That is also not good. And also body, that means control of the body. That means food and all those things are we are eating, so that is important for controlling the body. Daily do service to your Guru with devotion after purifying your body and mind. And Lakshmana's Guru was definitely Rama. There is no doubt about that. So naturally, to serve him, actually, he accompanied him to the forest. He used to love as a brother, not only brother, but as a Guru also, he used to take care of him. Whatever Rama used to say, without any comment or any other what is called any objection, actually he used to obey his brother's command. Do not be slack in doing good actions even for a single day. Do good to others. Others in a sense, if there is no human being, at least you can, other beings are also there, you do good to them. So doing good actually, what is called, pacifies the mind. That means mind becomes controlled and it remains in a higher level, spiritual level. So he is advising Lakshmana to do that. Then he continued, do not give up truth. Be always cheerful. The thought of enjoying the senses should immediately be controlled. If there is a thought, well, I like to eat this food, or I like to enjoy this thing, that type of thought has to be controlled, because that takes away the mind from the balanced position. That is, mind will be dragged to the sense objects, so that equanimity will be lost. So he's saying, the thought of enjoying the senses should immediately be controlled. Thinking that birth, old age, and death are your lot, be always humble. That means nobody can escape this situation. Birth, we are already born, and then what is called old age, we cannot really avoid old age. That means there is nobody who actually can avoid old age. It will every day actually we are becoming older. So if somebody says that, oh, I look that you have become old, so it doesn't mean that he has not become old. He has also become old, the person who is saying that I have become old. So we are systematically or continuously every day becoming old and older and oldest. There is no doubt about that. So these are inevitable. That is the point. So think of that. By thinking that, actually it may create a sort of dispassion in our mind. So time is short. That means old age has come, then death will be coming. Death also, nobody can really avoid death. So in that way, if we think always these thoughts, or time to time remember them, then actually our mind will be turned to something which is higher, which is something which can bring some sort of immortality. That means there are scriptures and teachings where actually the soul can be liberated, and in that way, those things will come to our mind. So he's saying, do not have intense love or attachment to your wife and children. So yesterday we read in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that means he said that do your duties towards the family. So Sri Ramakrishna was giving advice to one of the devotees, acquaintances who was visiting. They are not as such devotee, but they were householders. So naturally Sri Ramakrishna, they came to Sri Ramakrishna to get some advices or religious teachings. So Sri Ramakrishna told them that, well, give your mind to spiritual things. That means 1/4 of your mind give to your, for the maintenance of our family or the persons who are around you. You have to take care, because that you have taken the responsibilities of them. But most of your mind you actually engage in spiritual things, because that will be lasting. So he is saying, do not have intense love and attachment to your wife and children. You should avoid mixing with crowds as far as possible. Stay in a pure, secluded place, and do not keep company with crooked people. Try to live all alone, eager to know the Paramatman by searching into the Vedas and Vedantas and their commentaries, and doing all the Vedic rites. So this is the spiritual practices that Rama suggested for Lakshmana. What are they? That means don't mix with crowd as far as possible. Crowd, what happens, the crowd, the mental level of the crowd is a little low. Low in a sense, that means at the time when we mix with the people, actually we get in touch with that type of mentality. So that is really detrimental for spiritual growth. So if we live alone, then actually it will, what is called, mind can be kept quiet and under control. So stay in a pure secluded place and do not keep company with crooked person. So these are the influence of the holy company. Why do you seek holy company? Because that affects our mind and our mind will become holy. So if you take the company, get the company of unholy persons, disturbed persons, you get influence of them. So this is a very commonsensical thing, but it is very important and one has to be watchful about that. So Rama is saying, do not keep company with crooked persons, then the mind will be disturbed. And try to live all alone, eager to know. Sri Ramakrishna has said that go to a secluded place and think of God. And that doesn't happen when you are in the what is called family circumstances or in the job circumstances, because their thoughts will be different. Thought current is different there. So one has to go to a lonely place and devote the mind or engage the mind in thinking of spiritual things, studying spiritual thoughts. And searching into the Vedas and Vedantas. That means in those days, Vedas and Vedantas were the spiritual books. Now also they are. So in them actually you'll find the direction of the spiritual life. And their commentaries and doing all the Vedic rites. Vedic rites in those days actually they used to perform different rites. Rites means yagnas. And they invoked God. Nowadays we invoke God in pictures or in images. And in those days, it was common to invoke God in the fire. And in that way, they used to propitiate God by offering what is called different objects, like what is called clarified butter and uttering mantras. So he encouraged Lakshmana to do that. Then he is saying, do not be overjoyed if you get a fortune. That means if you get a lottery, don't get overjoyed. That is the point. That means that is the mind is getting out of control. Overjoy means lack of control of the mind. Neither should you be dejected if you lose it. If the money is lost, probably in investment or somewhere, you lose money, don't get dejected. Your mind should be well balanced. I, Rama, is the life of all souls. Your mind should be fixed on me alone. In an intimate talk, he is saying that I am ultimate reality. That means incarnation of God had that of ability to know who they are. So he is saying that know that I am the soul of all souls and fix your mind on me. That means it is not just like a brother or something, but as a spiritual ideal. That means incarnation of God. So in that way, we see that Rama in his life, though he was a king, prince, and he had so many travels in his life, but he had the opportunity of sharing spiritual knowledge with his brother, and those advices are really very useful to us. There's no doubt about that. So Sri Ramakrishna being what is called all-rounder in spirituality, in today's language. So he used Rama's life and teachings extensively during his teaching to others. There's no doubt about that. Next Sunday, on April 25th, Isodhananda will give a talk on Meet God. Very short title. Then, as I told you, we shall be celebrating Rama's birthday, that means Rama Navami, on Wednesday night at 7:30, and it will be live streamed. We are not inviting devotees to attend it because still actually there is, the county has not given permission to have congregation in worship places. So it will be live streams, but it will be as usual the way we do the worship. Worship performance rituals will be there, songs will be played. So in that way, you will be able to enjoy the worship on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. That is on April 21st. Rama's birthday, Ram Navami. And as usual, our routine classes and discourses will go on. So, of course, this Wednesday, because of this Rama Navami, Rama's birthday celebration, we shall not have the Raja Yoga class because the time is the same. But Ishwadhananda will continue his Narada Bhakti Sutra, Aphorisms of Devotion, on Fridays at 6 p.m. And I shall also continue the discourse on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna at 7:30 p.m. on Saturdays. Om Madhuvatarithayate Madhuksharanti Sindhavaha Madhi Irno Santoshadhihi Madhunakta Mutosasi Madhumat Parthiva Gangrajaha Madhudaurastana Pita Madhumana Manaspatihi Madhuma Gangastu Surjaha Madhirgavo Bhavantunaha Om Madhu Madhu Madhu. Sweet do the winds and the oceans give forth blessedness. May the earths and plants bring us health and happiness. Sweet unto us with the nights and dawns. May every particle of Mother Earth be charged with blessings. May the heavens shower us with benediction. Sweet unto us with the noble forest trees. Sweet unto us with the shining sun. Sweet unto us with the all living creation. Om, sweetness, harmony, peace. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Swami Ji.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Joel.
Maharaj, the
Yes,
teachings
please.
you gave, were they from Rama Gita?
What is that?
The teachings you gave of Rama's teachings, were they from Rama Gita?
Actually, no, I have that small book, The Spec. In The Spec, actually, there is a chapter, Advice to Lakshmana.
Okay,
So a few of the advices I just shared with you.
okay.
And I, of course, do not know whether this advice to Lakshmana has been taken from that Rama Gita. Probably yes. I cannot, I'm not certain. There are other books, Adhyatma Ramayana, Yoga Vasishtha Ramayana. So different aspects of teachings or different discourses they are picked up from Ramayana, and in that way those books are found. But in general, all the teachings are in Ramayana, so there is no doubt about that.
Is Adhyatma Ramayana, is that part of Ramayana? Adhyatma Ramayana?
Yes, it is actually a sort of Adhyatma Ramayana is a rewritten Ramayana, you can say, from the point of view of spirituality. Adhyatma Ramayana is a discourse given by Shiva to Parvati. That means it's a part of one of the Puranas. I forget the name of the Purana, but it is Rama's life described by Shiva. So in that way, Adhyatma Ramayana has come down. But incidents and all those things are same, but the highlights are different. More spiritual highlight is there in Adhyatma Ramayana. Because Ramayana is a storybook. Storybook means it is just like a novel. And so everything is there. That means secular things are there, the Then descriptive things are there, the places and all those things, and different characters are there. But for different spiritual personalities, naturally different discourses are more pertinent. So in that way, they have been collected, taken out from the Ramayana, and they have interpreted a little bit somewhere, some places, some interpolations are there, way of expressions are also there. So in that way, different Ramayanas have come out.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj.
All right, thank you very much and have a good day.
Pranams, Maharaj.